Hello there, love left me forever audience and followers. Been trying to decide when is the time to make another video, and I finally decided that there's never a right time to make it. It's just if I keep waiting till I feel like it, or later in the evening when I usually do them, they're not going to get done. So I have adopted a new format that I'm going to do. It's just I make myself a list of bullet points, and I probably won't get to all of them. And I have to keep this video at about 38 minutes. I don't like long videos anyway. I didn't like Alan R Currie's 2 hour, 3 hour videos. I think that's disrespectful toward an audience of people who work for a living, who don't have the time to sit down for an hour and a half. You don't need an hour and a half to communicate what needs to be said, or 2 hours. One day I may eat my words. So my mood is still up. I'm like a new person since the sexual encounter I described on December 30th with a woman in Atlanta. My moods are all over the place. And I guess that's part of the reason I'm afraid to get back on the front of the camera. I got like over 2,000 views. This is not easy. It's scary to get on here and say these things and to be honest and listen to criticism. But I'm going to talk about, just briefly, about 2024. What went on for me. You didn't hear from me from November of 2023, over a year. The last time you heard from me was when I had that restraining order involving my former company, and at some point I'll talk more about that. There's been no further developments, since that court hearing date back in November of 2023. But 2024, I basically crashed. And I had an automobile accident in March. It wasn't serious. I was going through a roundabout. I was out doing DoorDash of all things. And I sideswiped a woman. And I thought it was the end of the world. My car, what's going to happen if I can't get my car fixed? It was not a serious accident. It damaged the right front side panel up near the headlight. It turned into a blessing. It did no damage to the woman's car, so there was never any claim. I had to pay toward her. Luckily, I had full coverage insurance. And then the second thing was no police came. No police came, and there was no accident report or a ticket. So the bottom line is, the insurance company Geico, they decided they did not want to fix it. The car is 10 years old, or it's 9 years old then. They said it was too old to fix. We'll give you two options. We'll pay you $75,000 or $8,000 and pay off your loan at the bank, and then we'll take the car. And I would have $8,000. Well, that would have been a wonderful scenario if I had a separate vehicle. If I would have had another vehicle, man, $8,000, and then I wouldn't have any more car. Well, yeah, I'd be done with I'd be done with that other car. So the other scenario was, you keep the car, and we'll still pay you $3,800, and then we'll pay off your loan. So that's what I went through. That's what I chose. So it turned into good fortune. So now I kept a car that has a minor dent up in the front. It doesn't affect the drivability. It's hardly noticeable, really. And they paid off the bank. So now I had a $380 payment, $375 a month. That's gone. Haven't made a payment now in almost a year. And so that put money back in my pocket. So that turned into a positive. The second thing that happened, I got really depressed in April, May, and June. I mean, bad depressed. I was going to bed 3 o'clock in the morning, watching porn, sleep until 5 or 6 o'clock the next day. Currently, I weigh 173 and a half pounds. I weighed 170 pounds in high school. This year, last April, I weighed 194 pounds. I was fat. I was bloated. My feet were swollen. I quit walking. I wasn't exercising. I was miserable. 194 pounds. All I could wear was sweatpants. I slept basically almost 20 hours a day. So finally in June of last year, I had enough of it. I started walking again, started exercising. I started recording the food that I ate and kept track of the food. I started doing push-ups again, leg lifts, and it was painful. I mean, it was slow, slow, slow. And so by December, just last month, I was about 178. Well, somehow, since Christmas, I've plummeted to 173. I guess the trip to Florida and not eating regular meals, which is good. And then it's starting to catch up. I want to get down to 165. So 2024 was a terrible year of health as far as bloated, the porn addiction, loneliness, just the usual stuff of totally powerless as a man. The same old me that you've known since this channel started. So going down to Florida during December, I had a horrible experience down there revisiting my childhood memories and home where I live. I have no parents, have no brothers or sisters. So I spent Christmas alone. And when I started doing Facebook Live down there in Florida, first time I've ever done it, and just started chronicling how being in my hometown, and I didn't talk about the stuff that I do on Love Left Me Forever. I started to a little bit. I did put Facebook Live and did a video about from the motel that night, and I want to keep my conversation strictly on this channel. I don't want to get people here involved on my Facebook channel. I just don't want to do that right now. But all of a sudden, and I got 500, 600 views on some of these Facebook posts, even the ones, and I started realizing, I got a story to tell, and people were listening. And of course, I started losing friends too. I lost 3 or 4, and they were all women on Facebook. When I started talking, especially, I named the video, the Facebook video, I named a lay in the nick of time, and put it on Facebook. And they didn't like that too much. Well, some did, One of them. So that's the other thing that's happening, and another thing. I have a class reunion coming up this year in March 22nd, my 50th year reunion. They're going to have a multi-class reunion back, which means I'll have to drive back to Florida if I go. Well, it's a multi-class reunion. They're going to do it like 6 classes. The classes of 1970 to 1976. I was in class of 1975. There was only like 90 people in my graduating class. 90 people. It's a small school. It only had like 450, 500 people. The whole school. Maybe 600. The town that I grew up in only had 4,500 people at the time. So, but now some of the people in the reunion committee have seen my videos on Facebook, and now they're worried. They announced on the group page the other day that we're going to have an emergency meeting on January the 9th, which is this Thursday. Of course, I'm not going to the meeting because it's 600 miles from here. Oh, I can't discuss what it is, she said. Well, we got to have an emergency meeting before the reunion. I know what it is. I know it's about me. They're afraid of me. And they're going to have a meeting to decide if they want to ban me from coming to my high school reunion. That's what I believe. I could be wrong. Another woman reached out to me on Facebook Messenger that saw my video, and she was very supportive. When she says, "I'm happy for you," and what happened in Atlanta with a woman. She was not offended. She was happy for me. I never knew her, but she had lived in my hometown back in the 60s and early 70s. So she's been texting. She and I have become friends. Now she's married. She's like my age, 65, but she's married and I'm living in Florida. But she's supportive, and she's the one that brought up the fact that it might have something to do with me. I said something on one of the videos that they probably aren't going to want me to come to the reunion after all this. So evidently, all these people are religious-minded people. Hypocrites, and they're scaredy cats. So, I get to go to my reunion. But that's enough of that. I've talked for 9 minutes. I want to get back to some of these bullet points. One of the followers on here, he says, why do you go through all this turmoil? Why don't you just buy the pussy, buy the sex? And I told him, I did reply back to him, and I said, you're not going to like my answer. And the answer is very simple. When you buy pussy, you have given your power away. 100%, you have given your power away to the woman, and you are saying, she is more important than I am. I have to buy her access to her genitalia, but she doesn't have to do anything to get mine. So I have to pay her money. When you buy pussy, you are empowering the sexual exploitation of children, men, girls, boys, sex trafficking. You're empowering that. If prostitution didn't exist, there would be no such thing as exploitation of children. There would be no sex trafficking because there would be no market. So buying pussy is the worst thing a man can do. You betray your brothers, you betray me, you betray yourself, and you betray other men. It is the ultimate act of giving your power away. I'm sure I've missed some points here. But I'm not going to go so far as to say that if you use porn, because I am guilty, I use porn. I still use porn because I'm not ready to let it go. But I don't buy porn. I use the free porn. I use the free porn for gratification. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you. It's still, it's an act of giving my power away right now to a fantasy, but it's definitely not as near as compulsive as it was before that encounter in December. So I'm not going to bash people for still using porn because I still do. But the buying pussy, I don't do it. Never done it. Not going to do it. It's betrayal of yourself. It is weak. It is absolutely saying that the woman has more power and worth than you, and you have to buy access to her genitalia. Now, if it's what you want to do, I'm not going to get upset with you, criticize you. It's not what I'm going to do. I'm a new person now, and it's scary. My emotions are all over the place. Like I said, I got to keep this video short. I'm not a perfect speaker. I'm just taking my time. Another thing, a woman accused me of bringing YouTube down to a new level of disgusting. She said, when you go on here and talk all this vile and disgusting stuff about your personal life, she didn't even have the courage to say your sex life. You make YouTube even worse than it already is. Well, that's kind of hard to do. I mean, I don't have a lot of compassion because when I try to comment on other people's videos, 90% of them disappear. So I don't do anything. YouTube can ban me if they don't like what I'm saying. Okay? Alan R Currie got away with it. He said explicit language all the time. I'm not making threats to people. I'm just using the words. Now, you can't use the word pussy in a comment, but you can speak it. But this woman's trying to make me feel guilty because I guess she's jealous. First of all, women are, I don't want to bounce around here. Okay. She was upset because she doesn't want to, she's trying to use that as an excuse saying, you bring YouTube down to a lower level. What she's upset about is the fact that I got what I wanted from a woman without having to pay for it. I got what I wanted from this woman in Atlanta without paying a dime other than the $130 for the motel, which I'm okay with. Somebody had to pay for it, and I'm not going to ask the woman to split it. Okay, I got what I wanted. Honestly, and that's what this woman, I forgot to write down her hand. She may have deleted the comment by now. I haven't checked back. But, and then another guy said, he said, this is a bullshit story. Now, I can't prove I was with that woman. I mean, I can show you a video that I made that when I was in the motel. But what's the point? She was already gone. And I didn't record anything because she didn't want to be recorded. So if you call it a bullshit story, as long as you're respectable about that, you can stay on my channel. If you're not respectable, I'll delete your ass. Getting back to that woman, never take advice from a woman. They do not want you to win. Don't take advice from a woman, any sexual advice, any dating advice, and don't take advice on any other topic. Women do not want you to win. They want the game to continue. The pursue, the cat and mouse game. I ask you on a date. I go out and spend $50, $100 on a date, and then we repeat, rinse, and repeat until I might give you the pussy on the third or fourth date. One thing that Alan R Currie said, you can't buy sexual attraction. You can spend money, take them to the finest restaurant, drive the finest car, and you can have a six-pack of abs. You look like Arnold Schwarzenegger 40 years ago. But and they still may not be sexually attracted to you, and you can't buy it. So I use the vulgar language now to trigger people. People that deserve to be triggered. The religious people. I grew up when I wouldn't say shit if I had a mouthful. I want you to listen to that. I grew up as a weak child. I wouldn't have said shit if I had a mouthful. I'm going to skip a couple of these, and I want some of these topics deserve like a whole video. Oh yeah. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go over my gut instinct. Like I said, women do not want us to succeed. Okay, every time you bypass the game of dating, you upset women because they live in that fairy tale world of the perfect relationship and the man takes care of their needs. I'm not saying don't enter into a committed relationship if that's what you want. But this kind of talk, this going after the mode 1 approach, and I'm definitely not going to be the new, I'm not going to use mode 1. That's Alan R Currie. That belongs to him. Okay. I'm going to talk about my anger at Alan R Currie again. I watched him. I started watching him, listening to him in the middle of 2021. And even took coaching. I took coaching from him until he died. He died in 2022. So I started taking coaching from him. I was paying $50 a month for the Patreon channel. So I think him and I started talking probably March of 2022, about 7 or 8 months before he died, in November of 2022. And there was never time that I came away without being angry. We only talked 20 minutes. So I probably talked to him by way of Zoom on my computer that's behind this camera here for 7 or 8 months. And I got nothing out of it. The man was a terrible coach. I don't want to insult these guys. Most of you guys, especially as you young black males are listening, I know you worship him, and he's a great author. Don't get me wrong. It was his books. If I would not have read Mode 1, if I would not have listened to some of his videos in 2021, found out who he was, and got the Mode 1 philosophy inside my subconscious mind, it took 3 years. It took 3 years to manifest that woman in that motel. But after Currie died, I didn't want nothing else to do with him. So I didn't even listen to him anymore in 2023. I see his picture pop up, old pictures, and I unlisted myself from the Patreon channel. So what my anger was Currie, was finding out that he was married. And that pissed the hell out of me off, and it still made me mad. He gets on the videos and talks about how much of a man he is. Sometimes he has a vein popping out of his neck. He's so angry. So, but when you get married, when he found out that he chose the easy way, he waited till he gets about 60 years old, and I said to myself, he's become a scaredy cat. I mean, he don't have any problem getting pussy or women, but all of a sudden he doesn't want to grow old. So now he chose the easy way out, which I've seen many people, my past friends do. They get scared and they say, "Oh, I better find me somebody. I don't want to die alone." And that's what Alan did, in my opinion. Married a 29-year-old and had a baby. Nothing wrong with that. Just don't sit up there and call yourself Mode 1 and lecture men on the cowards they are, or lecture the men who use Mode 2 or Mode 3. choosing to be married, I lost respect for him. When he got married, I lost respect for him. Now I don't care too much. I mean, I pretty well forgiven him for that. The second thing that happened between me and him is I got so fucking tired of. The only thing he advised me to do was keep a diary of a notebook, and write down my thoughts and feelings, interactions with women if there were any, which there weren't. And this was, like I said, 2022, and I was still. This is after the restraining order that I had in January 2022, so I was desperate for companionship and sex. So finally one day, I sent him a message on Patreon. I said, listen, man, I'm tired of this pussy level approach with me. I said, I'm not a person that you can just kind of keep lagging. If you got something to tell me, let's get going. Let's move along. I mean, show me some of that aggression that you show in your videos. And he got all bent out of shape and offended. And he come back and said, he's on a message, if you don't like my form of coaching, then you can just find somebody else. I says, I am deleting you as one of my clients. He didn't delete me from the Patreon channel, but he deleted me as a client. And I should have just stood my ground, but I was scared because I didn't think I had it in me to become Mode 1 or become the man that I am now. So I begged him back and said, oh, I apologize. I mean, I shouldn't have done that. I don't remember exactly what I told him, but anyhow, I told him, I lied. I lied to get him back as a coach because I felt I needed him, and I didn't. The books, I read Mode 1. I'm now reading this book, No Free Attention. Say It Again. I've read that one. I've read that Mode 1 Hardcore. There's probably another one. I'm going to read them all. I've gotten back I listened to him last night for an hour and a half, a video he did with some guy, I don't remember who it was, where he talked about how it all started. But the point is, I value, he's a great author. I don't like auditory books or audible books, things where you have to listen. I want to read. But he's a great author. He's a great presenter. Most of the times on his videos, other than being long-winded, I'm inspired by the words, the written words. And but as a coach, he sucked. And that is my opinion. I don't want to insult you guys, especially you young black males. I know you think he's God. And I still I respect his written word. And I'll give him credit due. I would not have met that woman. I would not have been able to pull it off. I would have got scared. I would have got angry. I'd have said, you're just a fucking user. You're just trying to scam me. I would have told her. I would have got mad when she delayed in responding to me. She took forever to respond to confirm the motel. The old me would have just sent her a message. You're just a fucking scammer. I don't need you. Well, I didn't do that. And that I owe that to Mode 1. And that's all I'll say right now about Roger. Another guy told me sex is overrated. And I did see another comment, I guess a supporter said, yeah, it's overrated unless you need it. Well, I'm 67 years old. And I want you to know, I've got the power, I have the sexual urges and the sexual desire and the passion probably 1,000,000 times greater than I had as a young man, as a teenager, 20s, 30s. I have an erectile problem that I did not have a year ago. And I cannot figure out what that is. I haven't addressed it yet or what to do. But the point is, the sex does not come from your penis. It comes from within your soul. The sexual drive is a need from your spiritual being. So this guy says it's not important. Well, you're on my channel for some reason. It must be important. Any man that says sex is not important is either not much of a man, or it's a man that he's sick and overweight, frustrated, no testosterone, doesn't exercise, who doesn't care. Sex, okay? Sex is power. It brings, it's a healing mechanism Okay, whether it's a one night stand or whether you're in a long term relationship, it is connection with a human being, with a woman, a desirable woman. It is raw and it's untamed, and that's why women can't stand it. They'll do anything just like a man. They will be just as vulgar. Well, I can use the word vulgar. They'll be as graphic. They'll do sex acts you see on porn, the rim jobs. They'll do everything, but they won't talk about it. They won't admit it. But they'll bash you. They'll bash me. So, sex is a man's most important need. It's my most important need. It's the connection. And I need it more than ever. What I needed is that mastery. You see, I set out to master sex in 1982 when I was 25. And I had a few sexual encounters in 1982. I probably come back and do a video on that one day. But and during that time, I had been in a mental hospital and had a sexual encounter with a patient out after we got out of the hospital. And one of the nurses there, she called me when I got out of the hospital, and she wanted to hook up or she wanted to get together, and I just didn't. I don't remember why. She was hot. She had leads going on, but I just let it slip through my fingers. But I'll talk more about that. I had these sexual encounters in '82. I lost my virginity at age 23. And then when I started reading books, and I started going to therapy, and I started listening to other people, the experts, all the sex and all that dried up, and it went away. And I have been this sexually